The primary artist is God. Everything that we see in creation is created by God by the power of His merciful love. And so He moves humanity to be inspired to create. And we are the primary creator after God. So that's where I came from, a little village called Buktush, New Brunswick. And there, everything was Catholic. The roosters, the pigs, all of the animals, everything was Roman Catholic, you know. I come from a family of 7 children, which seems rather large today, but it isn't, because my father came from a family of 14 children. Imagine that. Then my father decided to move the family to a specifically English area in New Brunswick. And then we were placed in English schools, which made it rather difficult because of the 7 children, none of us were able to communicate. Totally French. So what did I do during my time in the classroom when I couldn't relate to the other children, when I couldn't relate to my teacher? I would pick up a pencil and draw. And that's where I developed my interest in sketching, in drawing, and that's where it all began. But the day that I made my first Holy Communion, and I walked up to the altar rail and knelt, because we had to kneel in those days, and when I received the host, I heard Jesus say to me, "You will become a priest." I had moved to Calgary in 1970. I decided to leave New Brunswick, go and see the world, and so I ended up in Calgary. And I loved it here, so I decided to stay. And then I took on a nursing career, and one morning we had a young man, 23 years old, who came in with chest pains, and he was going into cardiac arrest, and I worked on the cardiac team. We tried to resuscitate him, and we lost him. So after an hour of working with this young man, I had to take the body, put it into an alcove. And so all the time that I was working, I was thinking, here he is, 23, and I was 25 years old. And I was thinking to myself, is it possible that I could die at this age of 25? And as I took his body down to the morgue, I had this inspiration. You've got to become a priest now. Now is the time, now is the calling. Respond now. And so then I went to see the bishop, and that's when I started my journey. And I started at the University of Calgary here in the city, where I studied for 2 years, and then went on to Oregon, Mount Angel, Oregon, at a Benedictine monastery. And there I studied philosophy. And then I was asked to go study in Europe. So I studied in Belgium. And from there I continued in Ottawa at St. Paul's University. Then I was ordained in 1985 in Calgary at St. Mary's Cathedral by Bishop Paul O'Byrne. There's lots of stories that I could tell in regards to where God intervened, where He touched my life, where, in a real way. We don't fall out of heaven as priests. It's a gradual process as human beings to come to discern this whole process, right? There was somebody in my parish who was with an art group, and I had gone to her house one day, and she had done this beautiful oil painting of the scene of Jesus on the road to Emmaus. So I said to her, Rose, where did you learn to paint like that? And she said, well, I'm with the group. Maybe you'd like to join us. So that's what happened. I joined the group, and I was with them right up to a few years ago. And then I took off on my own. I've always been attracted to doing oil because I find it's a very subtle type of medium. I think my favorite is the oil painting of Saint Jean Paul II. I took a holy card one day, I drew it up, and then I started to apply the paint, and that's what finally came out, was this portrait of the Holy Father. I did a painting of Mother Teresa, like a 30 by 40 in oil. As I did that piece of work on the Holy Father and on Saint Mother Teresa, you really have to look at all of the details, and you have to focus and underlie this wrinkle that may be in her face, or whatever, the tones, the shadows and everything. So you just can't be whizzing through it. But I take my time, yes. Well, I'm familiar with the ocean because I was brought up on the Atlantic Ocean. And so I love doing ships and that type of scenery. And I love the prairies, I love the mountains, and I think that's what draws so many of us to come and live in Alberta. It's the purity of our scenery here. It's absolutely wonderful. The focus in the Sacred Heart Guilds is taken from religious art that's been created by Michelangelo and Rembrandt and all of those great artists, that we take a portion of that and we do an icon. Let's say maybe an angel, and we decorate it in gold and so on and so forth. You know, the Byzantine era had tremendous amounts of icons that were created for churches. And this is where it raises the soul to God, when you have an icon that is so beautifully done. And we've had workshops on it, and it's just wonderful. At the end of a week, you've got 20 icons that have been produced by artists, and they're just radiant and just beautiful. I think we just need to remain faithful to the call to be witnesses into the sacred arts, that we need to express our own faith through what we create, just to remain faithful to that call, because it's a special vocation that God has given us. In this day and age, where we're dealing with a strong secular message of the world that really doesn't want to refer to God in the arts of the world, you know, we need to persist and to remain patient, because the power and love and mercy of God is about to break out in such a spectacular way. I just want to be remembered as a willing artist who wants to give glory to God through his work, because it's all about giving glory to God.